Morning.
This meeting is being recorded.
Oh, you're lucky, Ryan. We missed that part.
Yes, it was on purpose.
Yeah.
Actually, I was with Beverly this weekend, and she's off pumpkin. She was making grasshoppers.
People
Right,
are
I don't
still
know about
coming in.
you, but it's 9:33, so you want to
We
kick
can-
us off?
We can jump right in. That sounds good, Kelly. Okay, I have three things to just chat about a little bit. And the first is what's going on market-wise, just in general, high-level piece. So first, company-wide, from January through the month of August, so 8 months into the year, we are running about 13% increase over our GCC, gross closed commission, and 1% down in units. So kind of riding the increased pricing wave a little bit for over last year. So, and those are over last year's numbers. So things are still good. We looked at we have a lot of colleagues across the country, and things are not as positive across the country as they are in the state of Connecticut and the Northeast, and actually on the East Coast mainly. A lot of West Coast companies and agents are dealing with iBuyers that have backed out and stopped, and they're seeing a very large decrease in business of up to 20% across the board. We did not see that. In the month of August, year over year, we saw that 80% of the offices were increased over last year. Okay, so 8 out of 10 offices increased over last year, and 2 of the offices had a slight decrease that literally a couple more houses and we would have been even over last year. So we're not seeing that, which is kind of interesting and a trend that I think is going to continue. Just for our geographical location, what's going on in the Northeast, but it is a time that we need to recommit and get out there and have more conversations with buyers and sellers. Open houses, calling just listed, just sold. Those things are working. We need to be out there as we enter the end the third quarter and start the fourth quarter. One of the indicators that I always like to look at, I get tons of stuff, and one of them is the MLS produces something called the List Track report that I happen to have. It's over a 2-week period. Every 2 weeks, they show you how many people are viewing your company listings and how many leads are coming in company-wide for things that the MLS pushes their data out to. It's not at all comprehensive, but it is, I think about 20 different sites, and it's kind of interesting. I happen to have last year's numbers, and I just got this year's numbers. So what's happening in the marketplace is kind of interesting. Last year, our listings, which we had slightly more, had 160,000 views in a 2-week period over the Labor Day holiday. This year, there were 112. So that's about a 30% decrease, 32% decrease in views that our listings have had. Leads that came in, there was only a 13% drop in leads, 13%. So less people viewing or less views, more people or proportionate more people asking for information on those listings. And there's a button there where you can kind of follow the listing. That was up 121%. So more people are being, what I'll say, cautious, paying attention to houses might not want to make that appointment yet, but want to kind of keep looking at it, see if it has a reduction. That's the kind of market we're going into. It's more of a traditional market where, people are looking, they're kind of comparing before they go out and make an appointment. And they're going to watch listings because, I don't see a huge decrease in pricing, but people have to be realistic. Actually, I was on the phone with someone over the weekend, one of the agents who had a property in a multiple offer bid that went 20% over list price, 20% over in a multiple offer. So kind of crazy. We're still seeing that. So market is good. Market's positive. We need you to just be out there touching more consumers and having those conversations. Okay. So things are good there. I woke up this morning with a little quote from Sabrina Ferry, who doesn't send a lot of quotes out, but I happened to see this and I thought it was important. Everybody has ups and downs in their life, and it's really how you handle it. And I'll tell you, getting to know Mike and Sabrina Ferry, they're very positive and happy people. So she had posted this, habits of happy people. Number one, ignore the nonsense. And I'll tell you, in the real estate business, there's a lot of crazy stuff, a lot of agents that don't know what they're doing out there, and a lot of noise. I mean, I get 5,000 emails a day on what we can spend money on, and it's a lot of it's nonsense. So ignore the nonsense. Talk less. Listen. Listening is a skill, and I think sometimes agents do talk too much. So talk less, learn new skills. You can always be learning, learn, and relearning. It's really, in this market, we're going back to 2008, where we really need to know what we're doing and buckle down, and any classes you can take to kind of hone those skills, that's important. Help the less fortunate. I think, if realtors have been fairly good through it's been a very good profession through the pandemic, and if we can help the less fortunate, that's an important part of life. Laugh more. I know that through the COVID and taking over for Mom, I'm not sure that Kelly and I have laughed too much, so we need to laugh more, and that's important. It keeps you young. Wake up early. That's something I need to work on. But a lot of people have morning routines, and I think that is important. And no entitlement. Okay. It's not on this list, but you can't be happy with others in your life unless you're happy with yourself. So I would just say work on yourself. Keep working on yourself, and happiness is there. It's important. You go through life once. You want to enjoy what you do, enjoy who you're with, and enjoy life. PJ?
Yeah, good morning. Great stuff, Ryan. And some of those things I just took to heart. You try to stick to a morning routine and laugh more, and we need to do that. Ryan touched on a lot of things, and a lot of words came out that resonated to me, and I've talked to some of the office meetings about it. But normal market, we're still seeing busyness and demand, and what consumers are doing with the going online, the look. So just so everyone knows, according to Showing Guests for the whole MLS, the demand hasn't wavered at all in over a year. Demand per listings, showings per listings are staying the same. So the demand is there. We've seen just consumer habits change. Just like Brian said, they're still going online and clicking. They just might not be ready yet. And what's happening too is the consumer has said, and we've talked about this, they've decided that I don't want to spend $300,000 for the house listed for $250,000 that has a leaky roof, no air conditioning, and a broken furnace with no contingencies and pay cash. They said, I'm not going to do that. Why? Because that wasn't normal. So they're coming back to normal. And I've been saying this in offices, the market isn't crashing. The market isn't bubbling. If I told you that listings were down 16%, you'd probably say closed units were down 16%. Well, that's what's happened. And what I've been saying is, if you really look at this in this market, is one, you need to talk to your consumers like Ryan just said. The basics work. We're seeing companies like Zillow and stuff trying to reinvent themselves because their models don't work again. Because what's working? Door knocking, open houses, talking to your sphere of influence, calling people, having conversations, because people don't know what's going on in the market. They're reading reports that it might crash. They're reading reports about interest rates, which we'll talk about. They're reading all these different things. And I keep telling people in office meetings, I bought the house I'm in 2004 on an FHA loan, and I paid 6.5%. That was my rate, right? We're still below that. And that was in 2004. But when you look at the market, and I've said this, and I've been looking at where Connecticut is in certain marketplaces, is I like to say you gotta, and I think we'd all like to forget the COVID years here, but it's an aberration. It really was. When you look at 2019 and we fast forward to 2022, if I told you if 2022 was 2020 and units sold were up 3.3% and listings were up 1.6% and our average sale price was up 6%, you'd say, oh, that's pretty normal. That was a good year. Folks, that's what's happened. 2022 compared to 2019 in Connecticut is exactly that. It's exactly that. But we had this aberration of almost mayhem in the real estate industry and a lot of it in our lives that all of a sudden we feel like, and the market's hard, we get that. But it was like, oh, the market's a lot slower. What's going on? No, we're just coming into a normal market. So don't get caught up with that. Don't get caught up with that it's crashing. There's nothing crashing. When you look at 19 to 22, units sold are up 3.3%. That's a normal market. That's a good market. We've seen an increase. To also give you an idea, and a lot of us on this call were around in 2006 and what that market was like. And I've talked to some agents who weren't around in 2008 and 9, and their jaw dropped when I said, yeah, we had to have first-time home buyer credits, $5,000 bonuses if the house went under contract by the end of the month. We'll put in a pool if you buy my house in the next 2 weeks. We were doing anything to get a buyer to buy our house because there were 20 other like that. 2006 wasn't like that. Open houses, multiple offers, similar to what we're at. Well, if I told you that the sale price in Connecticut from 2006 to 2022 went up 26%, that seems like a big number, but it was only 1.6% per year. So the appreciation the state of Connecticut has seen in now 16 years is only averaging 1.6%. You know what they say about a good, solid, normal market? It appreciates 1 to 2% a year. So if you look at this in a big picture now, and not this 18 or 20 months that we had, is we thought 2019 was going to be a great year based on demographics, the market, the economy, and it was. And then if you go jump to 2022, we saw a normal path of a normal market. And that's what we need to get in that right mindset, as Ryan said. Get in the right routines. Talk to your homeowners about, what the average sale price is, what the units look like. We're in a market that's shifting to normal, not crashing. It's a great time to buy. Rates are still lower today than they were in 2006, the last housing boom we saw. And rates always go down, always go down. And you're going to see that in a second. So just keep that right mindset, that positive mindset, but talk to your sphere of influence and do the activities that work. The activities, the old tried and true activities work. Open houses, door knocking, drip campaigns, calling, texting, emailing, talking to your sphere of influence. They work, and do that because we're seeing a nice trend in the market where it's upticking gradually. We're going to be in a normal market, and you're going to see all these people that Ryan said, and the demand is there that's not going to go away, that move on. And next year is going to be very similar. We're going to see a little uptick, right? And we're going to see these upticks keep going. So we want to make sure that you're in front of them. And, just so we're going to see in the last 4 months of the year about $5 billion of commissions paid out. $5 billion. We've had 30 billion already. So we even have a little thing we're looking at in 2019. You're talking about $5 to $6 billion of commissions paid out in the next 4 months. The end of the year. Have a piece of that. Like this market is when we think of those numbers, there's been $30 billion of volume already in the state of Connecticut in 9 months. There's a big market left. And what we've seen as a trend is the fall is becoming just like our spring. Very, very busy. So do all the activities, jump into training classes, any help you need, set up drip campaigns, do everything you have, because this is just becoming a normal market, not this aberration we had for 2 years. So I know we got a lot of content. We'll keep it moving, and I'll pass it back to you, Ryan and Patty, and Steve, I think, is next. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact any of us. We're happy to talk to you about it, but let your clients know what's going on in the market and your consumers and friends. And I think Larry is up. Is Larry?
I think
Larry,
Larry's
there?
on. Larry there?
Okay, sure.
There's Larry. All right.
I feel like I'm not going to be motivational enough now, so I need to like rethink what I'm going to talk about. But PJ, I got to tell you, like what you've been saying is exactly spot on what I've been saying. You know, I remember going to see an economist speak back in 2006, probably, when prices were, or sorry, when volume was, you know, prices, I should say, were up 20% in some parts of the country, and he kept saying, what's normal is 1 to 2% a year. Look back 100 years. That's what houses go up. And I've said the reason why Connecticut's not going to crash is because all we did was catch up. That's all we did. We went for what, probably 15 years without any price appreciation in the state or anything of any consequence. And we got it all in 2 years. I get that that's a little strange, but that's all we did. We caught up to where we were before. So anyways, yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to be motivational. I'm going to be more factual. So first of all, thank you all for having me today. I appreciate that. For those of you who don't know, I'm Larry Garfinkel. I am a real estate attorney here in the state of Connecticut. I've been working with Ryan and Kelly, and before them, Beverly, for I don't know how many years, and I don't even want to talk about it if we were to come up with how many years it's been. So, but I'm happy. I've helped out a lot of the people on this call, and I'm always happy to do so, continuing. So what I want to do, I think, Patty, were you going to put up the Smart MLS contract? There we go. So we wanted to talk a little bit about the Smart MLS contract and why we recommend that you not use the Smart MLS contract. And I know some of you might find that it's easy to use, but easy isn't necessarily good. And in this case, it's not. The first thing I want to talk about has nothing to do with the Smart MLS contract. It's just in general. So if you look at the very top of the contract on your screen, you'll see the very first words there. Notice this contract constitutes a legally binding contract. Every board contract I know in the state says something like that at the top. If you guys could maybe remind your buyers and your sellers that when it says contract on the form and it says legally binding contract, that's because it is a legally binding contract. The last year, I've seen a definite decrease in people's understanding of what that means overall. And I can tell you, I just had a conversation with a guy a seller who had signed an actual contract, and I said something to him about a contract, and he specifically said to me, "Oh, that thing, I signed that, yeah, but I know I can get out of that. I don't have to sell this house. I can decide not to sell the house the day before the closing." And I've got people right now in a contract sellers who they're just not doing anything. They're not hiring an attorney. They're like, well, we haven't found another place to go. So we're not going to do anything. We don't care. It's a contract, okay? It is legally binding. There are penalties if you don't abide by the contract. So if we could just remind people, this isn't an offer. Some people think there's a difference between an offer and a contract. When they sign this, it's an actual contract. Anyway, that's a general comment. Another general comment on the Smart MLS contract. Here's what we recommend. If you're representing a buyer, don't use this, okay? Use the Greater Hartford contract. The Greater Hartford contract is now the CTR contract. It's also the contract for the New Haven Middlesex Board as well. So it's pretty widely used in the state. If it's another board contract, that's probably okay, but really anything's better than the Smart MLS. And if you're on the selling side, if you represent the seller, I should say, obviously you have to, you're required to submit all offers to your client. We get that. But maybe recommend that the final contract should be, again, be the GAR contract, the CTR contract, or even a local board contract, and not this contract. Let me tell you a couple reasons why. So just looking at the first page here, we have, if you look down in section 6, the mortgage financing contingency, it talks about the, the amount of the loan. Thank you, Patty. It talks about when you're going to get commitment. It talks about the term of the mortgage. It doesn't say anything about points. And I've had this argument before with people where, I could put almost any interest rate in there, because if you pay points, you're going to be able to buy the rate down to whatever it is. So that's not really protecting your buyer. Now, right now, the rate, I don't know if Steve and Joanne and everybody would agree with me, but rates are kind of stable in a sense. They're within a range. They're going up and down, but within a kind of a range. But, we had a moment in time there where rates went up a lot, and there are some people that maybe, need to put the rate in there, but you need to put a rate in with the point, because I had one where we had this situation and it didn't say anything about points in there, and I'm like, well, okay, so it says that the rate's going to be 5%, and the buyer's going, well, now the rate's 5.875. I can't afford the house anymore. Yeah, but you know what? You could buy the rate down to 5, can't you? And this doesn't say anything about that, so that's not really protecting your buyer well. Down in section 7, it says that the closing is at the seller's attorney's office. That is not the custom in Connecticut. Typically, it's the buyer's attorney's office, or at least the bank attorney's office. So that's wrong. Number 8, attorney review. Now, obviously, I like having an attorney review, but I get your business, and you don't always want to have an attorney review. And keep in mind, when you look at the wording of section 8, it basically says the attorney gets 5 calendar days to review the, 5 business days. I apologize, 5 business days to review the contract. And if they cancel within the 5 days, they get the buyers get the deposit back. There's no limit on, no reasons given. So I don't have to give a reason. If I'm reviewing the contract, I can just say, hey, I know, you should refuse the contract. Well, that's a nice way to put an offer in, and you can kind of put any offers in, and then within 5 days you can pull it back, right? So I don't think that's really helpful for sellers. If we go over to paragraph 9, we have this title search completion date and this new contingency for title and for title report. Also, you've got the inspection contingency as well. That's something new. And I'm just trying to hit on some of the high points. There's other issues in here that I'm skipping over. Paragraph 17 down the bottom of page 2. Condition of the premises, it says as is. Really? So that means every contract signed with this is an as is contract. I'm not sure that every seller or that every buyer, I should say, every buyer wants to put in an offer on an as is deal. There was a period of time for the last few years where everything did seem to be as is, but this says as is, so I'm not sure that's what we want. If we can go to the next page, Patty. If we can go to page 3, there we go. Move all your faces over. Paragraph 19, escrow of deposit. If you look in the second line, it says that the deposit's being held by the seller's attorney, not by the listing broker. So we got to think about that. First of all, if you are going to use this contract and you do represent the seller, now you have to do one of 2 things. You have to make sure that the deposit goes to the seller's attorney, or you have to change that, right? You have to cross that out and put listing broker in there, because this seller's attorney is going to hold it. It does give some definition or some guidance, I guess I'll call it, as to what the seller's attorney is going to do with the deposit. But in general, when we represent a buyer, we would like to have the listing agent, the listing broker, hold the deposit. It's safer than having the seller's attorney hold the deposit. So that's something you should keep in mind. And also at the bottom of that paragraph, it says the escrow agent, again, that's the seller's attorney, shall not be liable for any error of judgment or for any act performed or omitted in good faith or for any mistake of law. So if I'm holding that deposit as the seller's attorney and my client says, give me the deposit, an interesting question what I would have to do if I would give him the deposit or not. Because I can give it, and then if that's a mistake, I'm not liable for it. So that's kind of neat, but I don't think it's a good idea. Paragraph 20 talks about default, except it only talks about what happens if the buyer is in default. It doesn't say anything about what happens if the seller is in default. The GAR contract does have a provision for what happens if the seller is in default. It allows the buyer to do anything they can under the law, so they can sue for specific performance. And it also has a provision in it that allows the buyer to get back their out-of-pocket expenses, the costs and fees for appraisals and inspections and well or septic inspections. That's not in here. So the buyer would be out that money if the seller just flakes and decides they don't want to sell the house anymore. Paragraph 21. I didn't look through everybody that's on the call right now, but for those of you who are my friends down in the Wallingford office, this says that the adjustments are going to be based on the uniform fiscal year. Well, that's the way that 167 towns do it. It's not the way they do it in Wallingford and Meriden, however. So that's not what this says. Whereas the GAR contract does have a provision that it's in conjunction with the local custom. In paragraph 23, the mortgage contingency. Now here we get into some interesting stuff. First of all, it says that if you don't get the mortgage, you can just notify the seller and be done with it. No provision for proof of that. Whereas the GAR contract says if you're denied, then the seller can ask to see the denial letter. If it doesn't meet the terms that are required on the first page of the mortgage, the seller is allowed to ask for a copy of the commitment letter so they can see it does it. But on this contract, no such proof is required. You can just say, oh, I didn't get the mortgage, or I didn't get the terms I wanted. Again, not necessarily in the seller's best interest. It also, we don't talk about conditions here. The GAR contract has some provisions for different conditions that are typically required by lenders and whether that constitutes a lack of getting a commitment or not. And here we don't have any of that language. And also it says that if you're gonna terminate, you have to notify the seller or the seller's attorney, does not say agent, in writing, and I love this, by certified mail, facsimile, or hand delivery. So really, was this written in 1989? Doesn't say anything about email. The GAR contract just says you have to notify him in writing. So really, every time we use this contract and we terminate, we do it wrong, right? Because does anybody use certified mail, facsimile, not just fax, or hand delivery? No, nobody uses that. And I just had a client the other day who was the buyers asked for they wanted to extend by 1 day. And he called me on it. He said, did you get notice by certified mail, facsimile, or hand delivery? And I said, no, nobody uses that. But really, he's right. I could have had a big problem on that file. We got through it. The next part, that big, bold sentence that's center justified, or whatever we call that, purchase money mortgage, a purchase money note and a purchase money mortgage as described on the attached rider shall be executed and delivered by the buyer to the seller at closing. Well, purchase money mortgage is when the seller takes back a mortgage, right? This doesn't have a question attached to it. It doesn't say if applicable or anything, and it's like in bold in the middle. It confuses a lot of people, and since we very rarely see seller financing, we really should just cross this out every time. I've never seen it crossed out. But if you're going to use this contract, please cross that out. The inspection contingency has many of the same problems that the mortgage financing contingency has. It still talks about notification by certified mail, facsimile, or hand delivery. But also it has a bizarre standard. It says that if the buyer is not reasonably satisfied with the title or the physical condition of the property. Really? That's our standard? That the buyer is not satisfied? I guess that's good if you're representing a buyer, but it's horrible if you're representing a seller. Most other contracts talk about, like GAR has in there, they refer to the standard of title, which is a document that attorneys use to determine whether something is a marketable title or not. But in this case, it's just if the buyer's not satisfied with title, well, what could that be? That could be that there's an easement on the property, right? That could be that there's a right of way. That could be a shared driveway. That could be any number of things that really are, it could be a lien. There could be a lien on the property and the buyer could just say, well, I'm not satisfied with the condition of the title because there's a lien on there. So they're out. And there's nothing that the seller can do to stop that. With inspections, most contracts talk about the mechanical, the electrical and plumbing systems, the property has to be structurally sound. This just says if the buyer's not satisfied with the physical inspection of the property. Well, what could that be? Think about that. That could be anything, the bathtub is 10 years old. That's not acceptable to me. That could be anything. Oh, the paint is peeling over here. That's not acceptable to me. And they're out. They're out from the contract. So these are some of the reasons why I don't like it. It also, there's no section on electronic notification. Obviously, that's what we use these days, right? And I haven't seen riders to this. I've seen people attach other board riders to it sometimes, but a lot of times I don't see any riders at all. So these are my concerns. I think they should be your concerns. I know this is an easy contract to work off of. The setup, a lot of people like the setup. There's less words than there are on the GAR contract or some of the other board contracts. But I do highly recommend, and I think Kelly and Ryan are behind me on this, that we again, if you're representing a buyer, don't use it. If you're representing a seller, go ahead and pass the offer on to your client, your customer. But then please ask the other agent to then submit the final offer on a board contract. Okay. Great talking to all of you, and I look forward to speaking to anybody who has questions afterwards. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry. All right, we're going to turn it over to Steve. Steve, do you have control now?
I think so. Let me see.
Yep, there you go. Yep.
Right. Cool. All right. We're flying. Thanks, Larry, PJ, Patty, Ryan. I'll be quick. Oh, somebody's flipping through. Hold on. So I'll skip over. So the previous slide was just Freddie Mac's weekly rates. I always show that on a monthly basis. It's a good gauge. You can Google it. Really good gauge, but it had it at 5.6%, 66% last week. We've had a little bit of a move in the bond market this week, so it could be hovering. And Larry mentioned it. We're ping-ponging back and forth. So you could have good days, good weeks where you see rates down closer to 5 in the lower 5s. You have others where they're in the mid and higher 5s, but we're going to ping pong back and forth. And this is great because, and PJ mentioned, what rates used to be, but this is a rate reality check. So you see 74, 81, 85, 90, 2000, where rates were in comparison to now. And I feel like just like knowing that 2022 and 2019 were very similar in years, I think it's great to have perspective on really where rates are historically. And if you weren't born in either of the first 2 years, I, for one, hate you. So don't call us with any questions. Patty, I think you took back control because this is not moving for me for some reason. Are you able to click it?
It says you have control. Try it now.
Yeah, it's not moving.
Right.
I'm controlling up. Whoa. And then it moves really fast. All right. So the Fed, we talked a lot about the Fed last month. They had met right at the end of July. And I had mentioned, even though the Fed was raising rates by 0.75%, that we may see rates come down. And we'll talk again real quick about why that is. So we're going to see, they're going to meet in another couple weeks, and it's projected that they're going to raise the rates 0.5 point, but they are raising the Fed funds rate, which is just the overnight rate that banks lend and borrow from each other. It is not mortgage rates. So I just want you to be a part of the discussion so that you don't, you're not a part of the sky is falling. Hey, rates are going up 0.5 point. In fact, you may see rates tick down, long-term mortgage rates tick down. And here's the reason why. So when the Fed raises the Fed funds rate, and we mentioned this last month, they're basically pumping the brakes on the economy because they feel like inflation is out of control. And when the Fed funds rate goes up, they're calming inflation. Their goal is, and it takes a little bit of time before their actions actually impact the economy. But long term, this is going to slow down inflation. And when inflation is low, typically mortgage rates are low. We can get in way more detail, but that's the simplistic view. So just know when the Fed does meet and everybody's talking about rates going up, when you're talking to your buyers and your renters and folks who are prospective buyers, know that that doesn't necessarily mean rates are going to continue to go up, 30-year fixed mortgage rates. One thing that we bring you, and if you haven't already seen our Friday mortgage updates, they are quick 1 to 2 minute videos. They feature one of the loan officers. This past Friday, Joanne and I talked about a low appraisal strategy using renovation loans. And as you know, we're an expert in renovation loans, and there's a lot of different uses. The thing we talked about last week was, let's say an appraisal purchase was at 220. The appraisal came in at 200, so $20,000 under the contract price, but the property sold as is. The seller isn't budging. They're not going to come down $20,000. What we suggested in our tip for the week was find a project. It could be a very small project. Get a contractor estimate, and we can flip that loan from a traditional FHA to an FHA 203K reno loan and get that loan closed. So it's not just true renovations or gut jobs that reno loans are for. There's a lot of different solutions, and the timing's perfect because this Friday from 11 to 12, we're going to have our VP of Reno Lending, Charlie Napolitano. You may have seen Charlie in the past. He has a 3-hour CE course that we'll bring to you at some point, but this is just going to be an hour refresher on the Reno products. We actually are able to do all 5 Reno products, which are conventional, both Fannie and Freddie, FHA, VA, and USDA. So take an hour out of your day on Friday, learn a little bit about that. It could save your next deal, could create some extra deals for you. We're following that up a couple weeks later on the 27th with our in-house appraiser. Ellie, he runs our appraisal management company. He's got a ton of experience in the state, and he'll help you with, what determines value, what you can do proactively to help the appraiser. What do you do when an appraisal comes in low and you want to dispute it? So make sure that you come to one of those. Also, last thing is I want to thank some of the people who've trusted us with your buyers. Jill, Marianne, Mary Beth, and Nancy, all tied for the leaderboard, have sent us a ton of deals this year. And actually, again, in August, we had 3 new agents who we hadn't worked with this year send us deals, up to 60 agents who have used Allpoints Mortgage this year. So continue to try to bring you guys value in these tips, in our weekly Friday tips, Joanne on the Coffee Talk on Mondays, and in our webinars that we're bringing you on a consistent basis. So hopefully you trust us with your next deal and turn it back over.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks,
Sorry, Kelly,
Steve.
you on?
Yeah, I'm here, guys. Thank you, Steve. Thanks, Larry. Thanks, PJ and Ryan. Larry, I'm glad you held all of the questions till the end, because I know if you opened it up for questions, I wouldn't be able to share all the important things I get to share this morning. I wanted to remind everyone, very important, September is National Realty Safety Month. This is something we should actually be talking about every month, but September, we want to bring this to the forefront. It's really important that we remember safety, and there's a couple of best practices that we should all be following. I'm going to go through a few of those real quick. Remember, we should always be meeting new clients at the office or in a neutral location, like a coffee shop. You should be sharing your schedule with a colleague, an assistant, the office, or a family member so someone knows where you are. If you're a listing agent and there may be safety concerns at your listing, for example, poor cell phone signal, etc., please put that in the showing instructions so that other agents are aware. Do not overshare with clients and customers about your personal life. Keep personal life separate and professional life with your clients. You should always be checking your cell phone battery and signal before heading out onto appointments. Make sure that you're charged up. You don't want to be stuck out somewhere with no battery. While showing and touring a property, you should always be directing your clients to walk in front of you. You should not be leading them around the house. Never go into attics, crawl spaces, or garages where you could potentially be trapped. As fall approaches and we start showing properties in the evenings, it gets darker sooner. It's important that we get there early and make sure that the lights are on in the property. So that you're not walking into a dark home. They also suggest, if you can, raise the blinds so that people can see into the home while you're in it. And this one, I think, is kind of a no-brainer. Hold on one second. Oh, it's kind of a no-brainer, and it's an easy one. It's called "Don't Get Parked In." When you're showing a property, park in the street. Do not park in the driveway where you can get blocked in, okay? So also I wanted to just remind you that NAR has a lot of resources on their website for personal protection, different apps, different products that they recommend, tools for safety. One that you should all have downloaded on your phone is the Forewarn app, which you can, if you have a new customer or someone inquiring, you can look up their phone number or address on this Forewarn app. I know most of you have that, but if you don't, make sure you do, and make sure you check out the NAR site for other safety apps. So you guys, it's really important. I just wanted to spend a few minutes talking about that. Next slide. We are going to be announcing the best open house month of the century. As we move into next weekend, we are going to be having the best open house month of the century. It's going to be a Century 21 open house extravaganza. So these are the weekends that what we're going to be doing is encouraging each agent to do at least 2 open houses during the month, or have 2 of your listings held open. Again, we have agents throughout the company who or looking to do open houses. And what we're asking that you do is send us a promotional video at least 3 days before your open house. So just a quick video of you talking about the open house. Karen Stockoff from our Stratford office, she does it on almost all of her listings. What we're gonna do is we're gonna post that on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And then the company is gonna pay to promote your open house in the zip code through AdWords. If you're in, so again, it can be a silly video, just kind of quick on your cell phone. You don't have to be nervous about it. It's not professional. You have to be, have fun with it. Stay professional in what you're going to say. Keep it under a minute and a half. But don't be nervous. Just, talk about the open house, why people should come, some features of the house, and then send that over to the Allpoints marketing email, and we will get that up and running for you. You guys, what we want to do those 4 weekends is we want to paint the state gold with our open house signs. So I think we're going to play a sample of Karen's video, right, Patty?
Yep.
Good Monday morning. One of the things I love about my job is you get to see the different ways in which people love their homes. And here's this beautiful new listing that we have on 215 Cut Spring Road. This is a 3-bedroom house. It's got your money-saving solar panels, your 2-car garage. And what the seller's done here is so sweet and special. These little spaces that she's created to love the outside of your home with the gazebo, the chimenea, this tree swing, and these gardens that have just been so beautifully maintained and tended to. And then these little spaces where you can really enjoy your time, a hammock. Look at these gardens that she's done. Good Monday morning.
All right, so just played a little snippet of it, but like Kelly was saying, just, keep it fun, keep it light, send it over to us. If you have a problem sending it, just shoot us an email or call us and we'll walk you through it. Sometimes you have to send a link if it's too large of a file to email on your phone. But, talk about your open house coming up, what time, when, and we'll get it posted for you and look forward to getting some traffic to your open house. Back to you, Cal.
Thank you. And just as we start the open house extravaganza, PJ Lewis is going to be doing how to capture the maximum amount of leads at your open house. Put it on your schedule Monday, September 12th, just from 10 to 11. It's a good way if you're going to be spending your Saturday and Sunday holding a house open, that you really prepare and do what you need to do to capture those leads from your open house. Next slide, Pam. Okay. And as we always do, we're going to give you a quick Moxie minute, a tip on Moxie. And this happens to be about the open houses. What we're going to suggest is that you send a quick e-card for your open house. Of course, you can send it for e-card for anything, but we're suggesting you do it for your open house. Now, this is in Moxie Impress. You'll log in through 21 online, go to Moxie Impress, and then you will see your customers and your clients, your database in there. And you're going to go to designs, and they have a whole bunch of different e-postcards for that for you to send. You can see right there, they have the e-card for the open house. You're going to click that. And you are able to customize very easily the e-card that you chose for your open house. So you're just going to quick customize it. Most of the information will be in there already, but you can make changes to the e-card before you send it if you'd like to.
And a couple things, if you email this to yourself and then you save the graphic onto your phone and you want to text it out to people, you can do that as well. You can just text them the actual image.
That's nice. And we'll send everyone directions on how to use this because I know we're just going through this quick.
Yep.
Next slide. Relocation. Karen Bobick, are you on?
I am. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for keeping me busy last month. So we had quite a few referrals and everything that were sent out. We had a few AGRs that were done. It's the agent generated referrals into our affinity programs. Joe Christ is on the roll. I think this is his 7th one this year. He used it as a listing strategy to get the listing for this client. They were on the fence because they're building, so money was going to be tight. Joe offered this. He got the listing above another agent. So good job, Joe. He knows how to work it. And we do also have material that you can insert into your for marketing into your listing packages, or if you want to have them for your open houses, we have them available for you that could be customized. Mary Beth did the same thing. She had a buyer. It's a way to reward them. So thank you, Wendy, Peter, Mary Beth, and Joe for those that were placed this month. And then we had a couple that closed. One of Mary Beth's, she actually has 2 that are active right now and under deposit. So one of them closed. Tom Courier, longtime client, came back to him because he had done it before. Now he's did it again. They came back and offered the same thing. So it's great to build client loyalty also. So thank you guys. Placed a lot of outbounds this month. People are moving out. People are getting second homes. I've been talking about this week about in the office meetings that There are still people moving out, but we are also seeing people move in, which is a good thing. So these guys all sent them out. I think that we have 2 or 3 under deposit. Mike Robinson already got paid for his, as well as I think Tina. So there's a few of them that are under deposit and we're waiting for checks. So send them on over. I'll set them up with somebody great and we'll have it taken care of for you. Go ahead, Patty, next slide. And closed. So these guys got something really special. They got a check this month for an outbound that they sent. So this is great passive income for you. Send out a referral because you know you can't help them where they're going, but we certainly can find somebody to help them, and then you get paid for it too. So thank you guys. I'm sure they like that that little check that came in. Actually, some of them weren't so little. So also we have for outbound referral information. If you want to put stuff on your social media, we have things that can go on your web pages and whatnot. So we have marketing for all that too. So just let me know, call, text, email me, and I'll be able to help you get that taken care of.
Thanks, Carol.
Anything next? We're done. So
Back to
thank
you,
you.
Cal.
Thanks, Karen. Good stuff. Thanks to everyone who contributed, and I'm sure you're happy to get those closed checks payments just for giving Karen a name and some information, and your clients being well taken care of on the other side. We wanted to quickly welcome the new agents who came to us in August to the company. In July.
No, in August, sorry, that's my mistake.
In July, we have Maria and Sabrina, both with the Stamford office. Welcome, ladies. We have Tim, Xavier, and Alex. Welcome, you guys. You came to us in August. Next slide. Jodi, time for a change. It's fall. What do you got for us today?
All right, so let's next slide. And next slide, you guys have seen this. It's our year-long training calendar. So I'm going to start working on next year. But so this is how it goes. Next week is boot camp. And then next slide, we'll go into a deep dive into each one. This is this week. And next, I want to let you know at 11 o'clock on Friday is the Charlie Neferrantano with Norcom doing the rehab loan. I'm really looking forward to that. A lot of people are talking about that. We have a lot of Moxie classes, and I just put in the chat paper about Moxie and where you can find everything you want to know as far as taking classes and using Moxie to make money. So they have 3 different types of Moxie classes, which you'll see when you download the paper. I'll also send that out to everyone. So on this Friday, we're doing the website. So it's the same class twice. And then Century 21 Corporate has some great classes. Next slide. I added something new because of demand. We are doing script practice from 7:30 to 8 every day. And I don't always send out the link, but it's always the same link. And the reason I don't send it out is because you're getting a lot of emails and I just don't want it to be really confusing. But 7:30 to 8, we actually practice and role play scripts. And then from 8 to 11, agents are making calls and agents are getting appointments. And I'm going to just share something quick. One of the agents I'm coaching with shared last night that she was calling her circle of influence, and the parents were in Europe and the kids were living at the house, and they were talking and they were saying, well, you know, our parents aren't here, but we're here and we're going to move. And we love your aggressive, you know, you're on top of things, you're keeping in touch all the time. And we want to sell our house and we want to buy a house. So it works, and it's, calling everyone, like PJ was saying, those activities every day help you. With boot camp, and you can't really see this, I'm going to send out an agenda so you can see it. On Monday is going to be, 9:30 to 10, talking about why somebody should list with you, what C21 Allpoints brings to the table, what you can talk about. And then from 10 to 11 is going to be open houses. So that PJ class is actually going to be 10 to 11. I'm also making it part of my boot camp. So anyone who is attending will be able to also attend that class. And for the whole week, each one of these is divided up into an hour and a half session that anyone can join. For agents that are, want to reboot their life, come to boot camp. If you want a deeper dive into this, C21 is offering Accelerate during the day and at night. Next page. Sorry, Patty, next page. Oh, we have it, sorry. Okay. So
This one?
that at night is this day, the 19th. So once a month, they offer something at night, 7 p.m., Accelerate. The same guy teaches it all the time, Paul Sweeney. He's an agent out of Las Vegas. So he brings a practical experience into this. And he's a decent, he'll keep you on your toes. It's a great class. So if you want a deep dive, go into that. In addition, Ryan and I are doing the coaching corner. We are doing those programs every other week on Tuesday morning. So the next one is the 20th. Anyone is welcome. We do a deep dive into one aspect of your success in real estate. The one coming up on the 20th is going to be the listing presentation, what goes into it, everything you want to prepare and do, and your plan of, what are you going to do to sell that house? So a deep dive into that. Next page. And this is the new class with PJ. So how to get leads, door knocking. That is going to be Monday, the 26th at 10 a.m. And, a lot of the agents here are door knocking. They're making calls in the morning, and then they're going and knocking on doors, and they're getting appointments. This stuff really does work. Keep an open mind. There are people that will go with you if you are kind of afraid to do it. In addition to that, we have Ellie from Value Quest doing the appraisal class. So appraisal classes, we always learn so much, just like we did with Larry today on that contracts. It's amazing. Okay, next page. So that is it for the week. Next page, the month. Don't forget, this is the phone number your leads are coming from. Write it down, put it in your phone. You that are newer to the company, this is the number you want to write down. Put a crazy ring to it so you know and you pick up quickly. And that's it.
Good stuff. Thank you, Jodi. I just wanted to open up. I know Larry's still here. Any questions on the Smart MLS contract or anything else we went through? Anybody?
I have a comment.
Great.
Hi, it's Cherie. Larry, as you probably remember, years ago, we had an office meeting in Manchester where we discussed all the contracts and all the differences. And that's when you pointed out to all of us that the GAR contract really is the most fair and the best one to use. And so I started, and I think a lot of people have been putting in the comments section of our listings that seller prefers GAR contract. And if you don't use the word prefer, you will get a notice from Smart MLS saying you can't dictate which contract is used. So that's your way around it. And I had a long talk with them about it. and explained why so many of us are putting that in there. And the fact that it's hard when you have 18 multiple offers and you've got some on GAR and you got some on Berkshire Hathaway and you got some on CAR and some on, I said, it's just makes no sense that we have so many different contracts and how hard it is to just go over 18 contracts in general, especially when they're all on different forms. So I'm trying to make them more understanding and aware, but using the word or writing in there, seller prefers GAR contract is your way around getting any kind of slap in the hand from Smart MLS.
Thanks, Sherry.
Anyone else? Good info. Okay, then I want to thank everyone for joining us, and to celebrate the fall, anybody that sends us a picture, Kelly or myself, today only, and hopefully it's being recorded, since you joined us in the meeting, take a picture of yourself drinking a pumpkin spice latte from Starbucks or from Dunkin' Donuts, or tonight have a pumpkin martini, and we'll send you a gift card to cover it. Okay, there's 57, Cal, times 10.
I already had my pumpkin latte.
Too late.
Dunkin' Donuts pumpkin. Come on.
Too late. Well, take a
What
picture.
about a pumpkin beer?
Pumpkin beers also qualify. It's pumpkin day here at Century 21.
And
Pictures.
Lucas, I think it is National Beer Day, so a pumpkin beer is appropriate.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.